Today we are going to continue the topic which we started in the last class, which included disaster risk reduction or disaster risk management strategies. Where we have seen a mitigation and a prevention part. Now, third part is the disaster preparedness. Moving to disaster preparedness, the word itself is very much clear to you all. How we are going to be prepared for a disaster. Example, when the flood occurred in Kerala during the past 3 years, we all were in first time we were not prepared, the second time and the third time we were given proper indication by the government or by the collector, and we all were prepared for such a flood to occur. So, the preparedness effectively, if the preparedness is very effective, can save a lot of life and other things. So, you can see what is a disaster preparedness. It encompasses the knowledge and capacities developed by government, professional response and recovery organizations, communities and individuals to effectively anticipate, respond to, recover from the impacts of likely, imminent, and current hazard events or conditions. So, preparedness means it does not include only the preparedness before a disaster, it also includes the things which occur after a disaster, how we can recover, how we can respond to such a situation. So definitely preparedness to the public is given through governments or NGOs or organizations, etc. So we can see what are the components of a comprehensive disaster preparedness strategy. Strategy, it always means a plan, how we can reduce disaster or how we can be prepared. So first is the hazard, risk and vulnerability assessment, which already we studied in the second module. Then the response mechanisms and strategies, that also we have gone through. Third is the preparedness plans. Fourth is the coordination. Fifth is the information management. Sixth is the early warning systems, resource mobilization, public education, training and rehearsals, community based disaster preparedness. So, these terms I will just explain one by one. Hazard, risk, and vulnerability assessment always we do when a disaster occur in a particular area. Then the response is how we can mitigate or how we can prevent or how much we can plan to overcome a disaster. Then prepare, that includes the preparedness plans. Then the next thing is coordination. The coordination of all the members, like the government officials, the NGOs, the normal doctors, etc., will all be needed. Then the information management system, which helps to pass the information to the normal people. Early warning systems, which includes uh, we have seen in case of flood that the orange zone, yellow zone, red zone, which indicates a severity of the disaster in a particular area. Thereby we can isolate ourselves. Then resource mobilization, public education, training and rehearsals. That is how we can educate the public or how we can overcome such a situation. All includes the steps. In community based disaster preparedness, that is selecting a particular area and giving awareness to certain people, can be included as the community based disaster preparedness. Next comes the types of disaster preparedness. There are three types, mainly target oriented, task oriented, and disaster oriented. Target oriented means we are doing this preparedness for a specific uh, people, a specific group. We already will be setting the target, or we will be selecting the group, and then we'll be giving awareness, and all the preparedness plans will be installed, will be informed to them. That can include, you can just see, preparedness plans may be target specific. For instance, we may require different types of planning for vulnerable groups of women, children, elderly, and disabled people. So, in the case of a disaster occurring, the weaker groups, like the vulnerable groups like women, children, elderly, or disabled people, they will be given more care, or they will be given more information, or more awareness how to defend a disaster. Next is the task oriented preparedness. The specific groups jointly develop activities based on one of the community's plan to evaluate the community's capability to activate the preparedness plan in a real emergency. So, specific groups are developed, and then a community uh, groups can be included as a community, and a community plan will be developed, and also the community's capability uh, to initiate the plan, or to work out the plan, or work out the preparedness in a real situation will be evaluated. Then eventually these tasks enable the development of plan revisions, employee training, and material resources to support readiness. So by doing all these preparedness tasks, ultimately what happens is, uh, each time a set of plans will be developed, and there can be revisions in the plan. Also, certain people will be helping for the uh, disaster risk reduction, or during disaster we need certain people to work out or help others from the disaster. So employee training uh, is one advantage, or development of employee training also includes in this task oriented preparedness. And then material resources to support readiness. So material resources, so suddenly to support a disaster area, material resources will be utilized. Third type is the disaster oriented preparedness. This addresses the likelihood of occurrence of a specific disaster. Emphasis is placed on structural and non-structural mechanism. So disaster oriented means this particular area, there earthquake occurs. Definitely there, once in a year or twice in a year, earthquake can occur. So all the structures will be planned or prepared according to that type of disaster. Example, Japan. Japan is a place where tremors occurs very frequently. So what they plan, or their strategy is that they build structures which are earthquake resistant. So that is the about the structural and non-structural mechanisms. Now we can see the various levels of disaster preparedness in case of flooding, because flood was the main thing which happened in Kerala. We can not even Kerala, all around India, it is a common disaster which occurs. So there we can see what are the triggers, what are the early warning monitoring systems, who is responsible for early warning, providing the early warning, then preventive and mitigative measures carried out. These are listed here. So first triggers is the heavy rains. Heavy rain, the indication of heavy rain is given by the weather forecasting department. The information flow on the rainy season, observation of the rise of river levels. All these are given as warning systems, which we often see in our television news. Then the responsible for early warning, um, this information is given by GMET, Ministry of Information, or NATMO organizations. Then preventive and mitigative measures is use of media. desilting of drainage system, clearing of waterways, timely evacuation of population, and timely information flow on the rainy season. So that is the measures which suddenly we do during a heavy rain situation. A government organizations do during a heavy rain situation. Coming to the flood, we are talking about flood. So next thing what happens is opening of dams. When water levels rises, definitely the dams where water stored, there can be opening of dams, which like alert warning from for us. We had a very common problem regarding our dam at Idiki. Then rise in level of water was a discussion thing along the news commonly we watched. So here they have taken the examples of Burkina Faso on the opening dams, rise of the water level in the Burkina Faso. It is an example. There the Volta River Authority, the Ministry of Information, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Interiors, NATMO, and district municipal and metropolitan assemblies were they analyzed and gave the early warning to the public. Next, the preventive and mitigative measure for a situation where the dams have to be opened. The measure is the timely flow of information of the opening of the dams, use of media, use of voluntary groups by NATMO and Red Cross, evacuation plans and identification of safer places. So that is also a common thing which we faced in Kerala during the past months regarding the opening of the dam, the evacuation of people around the dam. It was a continuous news in the media. So also certain groups work for the evacuation plans. Hence, coping up with the expected disaster. Third is a chalked drainage systems. Increment in human activities due to pollution increase resulting unplanned systems or settlements. No existing waste disposal sites. The EPA Environmental Pollution Act, then district and metropolitan assemblies, Ministry of Works and Housings. They they are the agencies which are responsible for early warning systems. So preventive and mitigative measures that establishment of an authority in charge of waste management, cleanup of drainage system by district assemblies. So this is how this is what occurs during a disaster preparedness plan. That is various levels we can be uh, taking an example of drainage system, taking an example of dam, or taking an example of heavy rain. Uh, these are the steps followed by such a disaster occur. Now, disaster preparedness provides a platform to design effective, realistic, and coordinated planning, reduces the duplication of efforts, and increase the overall effectiveness of government, household, and community members. Disaster preparedness efforts. Then these activities definitely they will reduce the risk reduction measures and prevent disaster situation and also result in saving lives and livelihoods during any disaster situation. Disaster preparedness is a continuous and integrated process resulting from a wide range of risk reduction activities and resources rather than from a distant sectoral activity by itself. So it's a continuous process and it's also specific. It helps to evacuate a certain set of people from uh, expected disaster. Okay, so these are the things.